Hello guys, myself Mudrika and I will talk about an excretory organ that is kidney. We will see all parts of the kidney, which diagram, then at last we will quickly review all the structures we had seen. The kidneys are two bean-shaped reddish brown organs within the abdomen situated on the posterior abdominal wall. They are major excretory organs removing the waste products of protein metabolism and excess of water and salts from the blood and are thus essential for maintaining electrolyte and water balance in the tissue fluids of the body, which is very necessary for our survival. Now we will see more precisely about the location of the kidney. So the kidneys are lying on the posterior abdominal wall, one on each side of the vertebral column behind the peritoneum, hence it is called as retroperitoneal structure. As you see, kidney is occupying the epigastric, hypochondriac, lumbar and umbilical region of abdomen. And if we see vertebrae, then it is opposite to the 12th thoracic and upper 3 lumbar vertebrae. The right kidney is lying at a slightly lower than the left one, as you see, due to the presence of liver on the right side, and the left kidney, it is little bit nearer to the medial plane as compared to the right. So if we imagine a long axis in the midline of the body, then kidneys are slightly oblique, that is being directed downward and laterally, so that their upper poles are nearer to each other than the lower poles. If we see the measurements, then the poles are 2.5 cm away from the midline. The hilum, it is 5 cm away from the midline, and the lower poles of the kidney, they are 7.5 cm away from the midline. Now both the kidneys will move downward in the vertical direction for about 2.5 cm during the respiration. The transpyloric plane passes through the upper part of the hilum of the right kidney, whereas it is passing through the lower part of the hilum of the left kidney. So this was all about the location of the kidney. Talking about shape and measurements of the kidney. Shape is similar to bean. Length of the kidneys is about 11 cm, where the left kidney is slightly longer and narrower. Width of the kidney, it is 6 cm. The anterior posterior thickness of the kidney is 3 cm and it is weighing about 150 gram in males, whereas 135 grams in females. Let's see the external features of the kidney. Each kidney is presenting the following external features. Two poles, superior pole and inferior pole. There are two surfaces, anterior surface and the posterior surface. There are two borders, medial border and the lateral border. On the medial border, there is a structure present, hilum. There are two poles. So the superior pole, it is thick, round and lies nearer to the median plane than the inferior pole and is related to the suprarenal gland. The inferior pole, it is thin, pointed and lies 2.5 cm above the iliac crest. As you see, the anterior surface is convex and facing anterior-laterally, and the posterior surface, it is flat and faces posterior-medially. However, in practice, it is difficult to recognize anterior and posterior surfaces. Hence, for the recognition purpose, we see the relationship of structures which are present in the hilum. The medial border of each kidney is convex above and below, that is near the poles, and is concave in the middle. It slopes downward and laterally and presents a vertical fissure in its middle part, which is called as hilum or hilus, which has anterior and posterior lips. The lateral border of each kidney is convex. Now about the hilum. The central part of the medial border of the kidney presents a deep vertical slit, which is called as hilum. It transmits from before backward the following structures: renal vein, renal artery, renal pelvis and subsidiary branch of the renal artery. In anatomy, knowing the relation of any structure is important. So the anterior relations of the right kidney includes right suprarenal gland, right lobe of the liver, second part of the duodenum, hepatic flexure or right colic flexure, and jejunum. Out of these, liver and jejunum are separated from the kidney by the peritoneum. Now the anterior relations of the left kidney. Left suprarenal gland, spleen, stomach, pancreas and splenic vessels, left colic flexure and jejunum. The posterior relations of the both kidneys are the same, except that right kidney is related to one rib while the left kidney is related to two ribs. So structure in posterior of the kidney as you see are four muscles: diaphragm, quadratus lumborum, psoas major and transverse abdominis. There are three nerves, that is subcostal, which is T12, iliohypogastric L1 and ilioinguinal from L1. Now the subcostal nerve is accompanied by the subcostal vessels. As you see here, the right kidney is also related to the 12th rib, but the left kidney is related to the 11th and 12th rib both. The costodiaphragmatic recess therefore extends posterior to the kidneys. After seeing the locations and relations of the kidney, we will see capsules or coverings of the kidney. So from within outwards, it is surrounded by four layers. It is as follows. The first one is the fibrous capsule, which is also called as screw capsule. Second one, that is perirenal, also called as perinephric fat. The third layer, it is the renal fascia, which is also known as false capsule. And the fourth one, it is the pararenal, which is also known as perinephric fat layer. Now let's see the capsules one by one. First of all, we will see fibrous capsule or true capsule. So it is a thin membrane which closely invests the kidney. It is formed by the condensation of the fibrous connective tissue in the peripheral part of the organ, and it is readily stripped off from the surface of the normal kidney. The capsule passing through the hilum to the line and renal sinus and becomes continuous with the walls of the calyces where they attach with the kidney. So if the kidney is inflamed, this capsule becomes firmly adherent to the organ and cannot be stripped off. Next one is the perirenal fat. It is a layer of adipose tissue surrounding the fibrous capsule of the kidney and filling the space inside the loosely fitting sheath of the renal fascia enclosing the kidney and the suprarenal gland. This fatty capsule is thickest at the borders of the kidney and is prolonged through hilum into the renal sinus. In chronic debilitating disease, the depletion of perinephric fat can cause downward displacement of the kidney, which may lead to the kinking of the ureter. Now an important structure, that is renal fascia, whose another name is false capsule or fascia of Girotta. It is a fibroareolar sheath which surrounds the kidney and perirenal fat. It is consisting of following two layers: an ill-defined anterior layer, that is fascia of Toral, and a well-defined posterior layer, which is fascia of Zuckerman. Now extensions of the renal fascia. From superiorly, the two layers first enclose the suprarenal gland in a separate compartment as you see, and then fuses with each other and becomes a continuous layer with the diaphragmatic fascia. Inferiorly, these two layers remain separate and encloses the ureter. The anterior layer, it is gradually lost in the extraperitoneal tissue of the iliac fossa, while the posterior layer would blend with the fascia iliaca. Laterally, the two layers unite firmly and become continuous with the fascia transversalis. Medially, the anterior layer passes in front of kidney and renal vessels, merging with the connective tissue surrounding the aorta and inferior vena cava. The posterior layer passes behind the kidney, attaching to the fascia covering the quadratus lumborum and psoas major. The last layer is pararenal or paranephric fat. It is a layer of fat lying outside the renal fascia, consisting of considerable quantity of fat and being more abundant posteriorly and towards the lower pole of the kidney. It fills the paravertebral gutter and forms a cushion for the kidney. So these were the covering of the kidney. As we have seen about the external of the kidney, let's see the internal structure of the kidney. If we split the kidney longitudinally, then we can see two regions, that is the kidney proper and the renal sinuses. Talking about kidney proper, the naked eye examination presents an outer cortex and an inner medulla. The cortex is located just below the renal capsule and extends between the renal pyramids, that is wide infra, as renal columns, which are also known as columns of Bertini. The cortex appears pale yellow with granular texture. The medulla, it is composed of as two dark conical masses called as renal pyramids, that is pyramids of Malpighi. The apices of the renal pyramids forms nipple-like projections, the renal papilla which invaginate the minor calyces. A renal pyramid along with its covering cortical tissue forms a lobe of the kidney. Renal sinus. It is a cavity of considerable size present within the kidney, taking up large part of the interior of the kidney, opening at the medial border of the kidney as hilus. It contains greater part of the renal pelvis, major and minor calyces, renal vessels, lymphatics and nerves, as well as fat. The sinus is lined by the continuation of the true capsule, as we have discussed earlier. Numerous nipple-like elevations, that is renal papilla, indent the wall of the sinus. The renal pelvis here within the sinus is divided into 2 or 3 large branches, which are called as major calyces, which further divides, forming 5 to 11 short branches called as minor calyces, and each minor calyces expands as it approaches the wall of the renal sinus. Its expanded end is intended and molded around the renal papilla. The collecting tubules within the renal papilla opens into the minor calyx by perforating its wall and capsules lining the sinus. Thus, the pelvis of the ureter, that is the upper funnel-shaped part of the ureter, is connected with the kidney tissue through calyces. Now, there is presence of vascular segments in the kidney. According to Graves, on the basis of the distribution of major branches of the renal artery, each kidney is anatomically divided into 5 vascular segments. Each segment has its own artery, and between the segments there is no anastomosis. These segments are as follows. Apical consists of the medial side and the anterior part of the superior pole. Upper part includes the remaining of the upper pole and the upper part of the anterior aspect. Middle part includes the lower part of the anterior aspect and lies between the upper and lower segments. Lower segment consists of the whole of the lower pole. Posterior segment consists of the whole of the posterior aspect of the kidney between the apical and lower segments. For these segments, the nomina anatomica adopted a slightly more descriptive terms, namely superior, anterior superior, anterior inferior, inferior, and posterior. Now, one important part of the kidney which is important for the functioning of the kidney, that is the arterial supply of the kidney. The kidneys are supplied by the renal arteries. Usually there is one renal artery for each kidney, but in about 30% individuals accessory renal arteries are also found. They commonly arise from the aorta and enter the kidney at the hilus. The renal arteries have a blood flow in excess of about 1 liter per minute. The renal arteries arises directly from the abdominal aorta just below the origin of superior mesenteric artery, that is at the level of intervertebral disc between L1 and L2. Now let's see the arterial tree of the kidney with diagram. So the arterial tree of the kidney is like this. The right renal artery passes to the right behind the inferior vena cava and right renal vein, while the left renal artery passes to the left behind the left renal vein. The right renal artery is longer than the left renal artery, while the left renal artery lies slightly at a higher level. At or near the hilum of the kidney, each renal artery divides into anterior and posterior divisions. The anterior division supplies apical, upper, middle and lower segments, while the posterior division would supply only posterior segment. The branches supplying the segments are called as segmental arteries. The anterior segmental arteries are usually larger than the posterior. Each of the segmental arteries, after supplying renal sinus, divides into lobar branches. The lobar arteries break up into 2 or 3 interlobar arteries, which pass through the renal columns between the pyramids. When an interlobar arteries reach the base of the associated pyramids, it divides dichotomously into the arcuate arteries. The arcuate arteries run parallel to the surface of the kidney between the pyramid and the overlying cortex. The renal arteries do not anastomose with adjacent arcuate arteries but will give branches which pass radially towards the surface of the kidney, which are called as interlobular arteries. The afferent arterioles from the interlobular arteries passes to the capillaries of glomeruli, which then reunite to form efferent arterioles. The efferent arterioles divide to form peritubular capillary plexus around the convoluted tubules. This capillaries drains into the interlobular veins and then into interlobar veins, which run along the corresponding arteries. The interlobular veins drain into the arcuate vein, which in turn drain into the interlobar vein, which pass through the kidney tissue to the sinus, where they join to form the renal vein. And this was all about the renal blood flow. Let's see a bit of other information which is related to the kidney. As already said, the venous blood from the kidneys is drained into the renal veins, where the left renal vein passes in front of the aorta immediately below the origin of inferior mesenteric artery. Lymphatic drainage. The lymphatics from the kidney drain into the para-aortic limbs at the level of the origin of renal arteries, which is L2. Nerve supply. Each kidney is supplied by the renal plexus of nerves which reach the kidney along the renal artery. The renal plexus consists of both sympathetic and parasympathetic fibers. The sympathetic fibers derive from T10 to L1 spinal segments, and the parasympathetic fibers are derived from vagus nerves. Let's also see a term which is used for the kidney, that is renal angle. This is an angle between the lower border of 12th rib and the lateral border of erector spinae muscle. This angle will become more following the kidney enlargements and the formation of perinephric abscess, and it is the site of the tenderness in case of perinephric abscess. Renal pain is usually felt in this angle as a dull ache. So here I have completed my video on kidney. I hope you have learned something new from it. Thank you.